In today's video, we have some more NHL prospects that have signed contract, and we got confirmation that there's some more great prospects on the way shortly. We'll jump into the latest news coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Of course, before we jump into today's news, just want to wish everybody a happy Easter. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. And now let's dive in here to the prospect signings that we have to discuss here today. Now, first of all, let's discuss the signings that already are official, and then we'll get into the news about the prospects that will be signing soon and are coming to the NHL likely this fall. The Florida Panthers have signed Cole Schwindt, who was a third-round pick in 2019 NHL Entry Draft. He's been playing in the Ontario Hockey League for the Mississauga Steelheads. He can play wing as well as center and had a 71-point season in 57 games this past year, so he looks to be having some pretty good development since his draft, but likely will be staying in junior another season or two before turning pro and making his contract officially kicked in. The Arizona Coyotes have signed defenseman Cameron Crotty, who's played the past 3 years at Boston University. Be interesting to see how Crotty jumps to the pro game. He's got great size, 6'3", 200 pounds. Like I said, he's played the last 3 years at BU. He's got a right shot defenseman. Obviously was drafted a few years back by the Coyotes, and he should make the jump to pro hockey here this fall. The Ottawa Senators have signed a 5th-round pick from 2019, center iceman Mark Talaq. Definitely what you'd call a bit of a late bloomer. Certainly got into junior hockey a little late, was drafted late as well. Great size, 6'3", 210 pounds. He plays center ice. He's played his junior career for the Calgary Hitmen in the Western Hockey League, put up some great numbers. 2 years ago, he put up a 47-goal season. This past year, he put up 38 goals, but he did play in fewer games, so really back-to-back 40-goal seasons basically in the WHL to end his junior career. Certainly is some solid output. He's certainly, like I said, a bit of a late bloomer. Kind of reminds me a bit of the path that we saw Drake Batherson take, who's certainly become one of the Senators' top prospects. Not that they play the exact same way, but just the path and the fact that he entered junior hockey a little bit later, got drafted later, and is a bit of a late bloomer. He certainly has worked really hard the past couple of years, not only to get drafted, but to get his ELC here with the Senators, and he'll make the jump to pro hockey and get into their system playing at one of their minor league levels for the coming season. The Chicago Blackhawks have signed a pair of prospects, including one of their top defensive prospects. That's Ian Mitchell, who's been playing for the past 3 seasons at the University of Denver. He has forgone his senior year and will sign his pro NHL contract to make the jump to pro hockey. Originally drafted back in the second round of 2017, has been a highly regarded prospect with the Hawks system here ever since. Of course, he'll join some other, top young defensemen in their system like Boqvist and Baudin, certainly adding a new wave of young blood to the blue line for the Blackhawks as some of their aging guys start to get to the tail end of their careers. The Hawks should be in pretty decent shape with some of these guys getting ready to take over. But Mitchell is certainly proven to be a really solid defender for the University of Denver, and be interesting to see him make his pro debut. I would imagine he'll start off in Rockford and earn his chance at some NHL opportunities, possibly as soon as this year, depending on the health of the other more senior members of the Hawks blue line. Hawks have also signed Michael Tapley, who is a Czech-born prospect playing in the CHL for the Winnipeg Ice in the Western Hockey League. He was a left winger drafted in the 4th round in the 2019 NHL draft, had a really solid year after being drafted, putting up 63 points in 53 games. So he certainly appears to be a pretty solid looking prospect as well, and we'll see when he makes a jump here to pro hockey when that contract kicks in as well. The Kings have signed a 5th-round pick from 2017, Cole Holtz, who's a left-shot defenseman born in the U.S. He's been playing for Penn State University the past few years since being drafted, so he's been making the jump here as well, also forgoing his senior year in college hockey. Also appears to have a bit of a flair for the offense, putting up 30 points in 34 games this past season. So another player making the jump to the Kings system, who's got a very deep prospect team. He's going to have a lot of prospects to be competing with for spots between their NHL and American Hockey League team for the coming year. Now, a few other quick notes as well. We saw Nikolai Goldobin, formerly the Vancouver Canucks, leave the NHL, and he will be signing with CSKA in the KHL on a 2-year contract. Of course, Goldobin really struggled to find a consistent spot with the Canucks over the past few years, and certainly was debatable whether or not he was going to have an opportunity to remain with the club or not, but it is official. He will be heading to the KHL for the next few years and leaving the Canucks. Now, sticking with some guys that might be going between the KHL either back and forth, one player that was rumored to be returning was forward Anton Slepyshev, formerly of the Edmonton Oilers. He played with the Oilers for a while. He's been back in the KHL for the last couple seasons as well. There was confirmation that the Oilers had made an offer to sign him and bring him back, but apparently he has turned that offer down and will be remaining in the KHL for a few more years. But there's plenty more KHL free agents that are going to be coming up here, especially near the end of the month. Obviously, free agency for them usually would be around April 30th, but to my understanding, I think some of them can likely sign sooner, mainly because of the season being canceled and it's over with now. So they likely might be able to get some deals done a little bit sooner here. But either way, other guys will be making the jump likely over to North America. We might see some other guys like Goldobin going back the other way. So we'll keep up to date with all those players once more information comes in. But sticking with some top NHL prospects that are over in the KHL and likely will be coming to North America, we got confirmation today via Twitter, which I'll post here on the screen, that Isles goaltending prospect Ilya Sorokin, who's been the top goaltending prospect, in my opinion at least, for some time, will be joining the New York Islanders and signing his pro contract as soon as he's able to later this month, more than likely. He has apparently rejected a contract extension to remain in the KHL. So that's big news for the New York Islanders. Sorokin has been one of the top goalie prospects for a long time. We've seen other guys like Samsonov as well as Shesterkin come over from Russia in the last couple of years and do very, very well. And Sorokin's been drafted for quite some time. The Islanders have been very, very patient waiting for his arrival, but as I suggested back last offseason when they let Robin Leonard go and they signed Semyon Varlamov, I really thought the odds would be really good that Sorokin would be coming and that was a big time move to kind of entice that to happen. Obviously, Varlamov is an older Russian goaltender who could mentor him, help him transition to North America. This is a big learning curve, not only for language, but style of play. So it's a big adjustment for a player coming over, and if they can have somebody from their native country who speaks the language and has been through everything that they're going to be going through, it certainly can go a long way to helping them transition, and they also share a player agent as well, so obviously that'll help get him signed. Obviously, Thomas Greiss is an unrestricted free agent. Not really clear how this is going to go. Greiss could be retained. They could go with Varlamov and Greiss, give Sorokin a little bit of time in the American Hockey League, but I would suspect that it's going to be a situation like the Rangers ran into with Shesterkin, that he might agree to play down there a little bit, but sometime before the halfway point or before the season's up, he's going to want an NHL time, and he's going to earn it, in my opinion. He's had 940 save percentage or thereabouts the last few years. Goals against average, incredibly stingy. This guy's a top-notch goalie, and he's going to come in and have an impact on the Islanders, like Shesterkin has with the Rangers, and he's going to force their hand to be able to give them a lot of playing time. So it's debatable whether or not Thomas Greiss returns. But like I said, even though Greiss has played pretty well for the most part for the last really 3 or 4 years, as long as he's been an Islander. There was one bad year back when it was him and Talaq goaltending tandem that they both played badly, but the defense in front of them really didn't help them out either. The last couple of years have been better. So it's, and Greiss is almost going to be 34, 35 years old by the time the following season starts. So debatable on his return. Sorokin's arrival could certainly have an impact on that. Whether or not they go with Varlamov and Sorokin right away. Maybe if Greiss will agree to a 1-year deal, they could get him to return on that and then bring up Sorokin partway through, depending on how the other two guys are working out. But it does make sense that Varlamov on a longer-term deal will certainly play in a platoon with Sorokin here in the not-too-distant future. But that's huge news for the Islanders. Imagine Sorokin in the net, as strong as he is with the Barry Trotz defense system in front of him, is going to be a lethal combination, and it will propel the Islanders to be remaining one of the top defensive teams for some time. So that's big news for the Islanders that he will be indeed coming over. And there's still lots of belief that the Montreal Canadiens will be able to sign Alex Romanov and get him over to North America and be a part of their team as well. There was even some talk that if there was any hope of the NHL resuming their season for the 1920 year to get it finished, that they might be able to get him signed and be willing to let him burn a year to get him into their lineup if they were able to participate in whatever playoff format or whatever the NHL decided to go with. So, that's not quite clear on that as of right now, since there's so much question marks and uncertainty over what the NHL is or is not going to be able to do. But either way, there's still lots of belief Romanov is coming. It will be at Habs lineup as early as next year, which is still huge news for them to get their top defensive prospect into their system and see how quickly he can adapt to helping this team move forward here, because he could be a huge part of the team's future. So certainly let me know your thoughts on these prospects down below in the comment section, and we can continue discussing further. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. And as I mentioned in the opener, stay safe, stay healthy, happy Easter, and I will catch you next time.